The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Nice to have Bob Bleier, resident professional quarterback, back in the house.
It's football season.
Talk a little football.
Absolutely.
Pat Duffy, what are you wearing?
It's weird. Like one of the Bills legends that nobody talks about anymore, and I feel like Bills fans feel he abandoned us. Aaron Schobel, right? Just decided at the end of one season he wasn't coming back ever again, and you never hear anyone talk about Aaron Schobel anymore.
You know, I had a thought. When you brought up the Marcus Mariota story about the big guy wearing a Marcus Mariota jersey, I think they should only sell jerseys in the size that the player actually wears.
If that was the case, I'd never be able to wear anyone's jersey.
All kickers.
I don't.
No,
even
I've
punters. I don't think people. I have a couple of game-worn jerseys. Even the offensive lineman jerseys they like squeeze you. They're not comfortable. They wear them very tight.
We have a situation in the NFL. The whole Antonio Brown thing. If they get any specifics, there's a long history of wide receivers behaving oddly, not necessarily badly, but oddly. In your experience, why is it that the wide receivers seem to be so afflicted with this?
It's crazy because when I was at the Patriots, we had a couple that were the same way. And
Who were they?
My opinion.
Or Terry Glenn one? Did you play with
Stephen
Terry
Starring was one of them. He was a Golden Gloves boxer. He was a tough dude. And Irving Fryer was the one that had some issues when I was there as well. So I think that wide receivers are constantly trying to make themselves known. In order for them to get high incentive clauses, big paydays, they need to catch balls. And in order to do that, they need to make a stink. There's too many people on the field that can catch a ball between receivers, tight ends, and running backs, and catching balls is their livelihood. So
there's so many positions that fall into the category. Everyone's looking for attention and their piece of it. But wide receivers just seem to demand it.
I'll tell you exactly why. You can boil it down to one player as an example. Robert Woods is that example. Robert Woods, drafted here in Buffalo. Robert Woods is having a hell of an NFL career. You know why nobody ever talked about him in Buffalo? Because Rex Ryan used him as a blocking receiver. And Robert Woods, credit to his personality, shut his mouth, did what he was asked, didn't complain a single day, and got a minor contract to go play for another team out in Los Angeles compared to the other guys in his draft class. He just got a huge promotion because the guy can actually play ball. But he never said, throw me the ball. He never made a stink about being something. And it cost him potentially millions of dollars on the contract afterwards. If you are a guy that just shows up and does his job in that position, it's possible that you get overlooked, right? I mean, Carl Pickens is another guy I think of immediately, a guy who kept his head down and just played ball, and he had a successful career, but nobody ever talks about Carl Pickens anymore.
Yeah, does it give quarterbacks problems? You deal most directly with them. Is that a problem for quarterbacks?
See, I think it isn't. The relationship between a quarterback and receivers is quite special. Timing, you're in your position room all the time together. It's, you make things happen on the field with short receptions, quick auditing at line of scrimmage. There's a lot of play changes at the line of scrimmage. I think it's a unique situation, the relationship between a quarterback and a receiver. I know I was close with all my 100%. I was close with all my receivers. Every level I played, you had to be.
And you see
really
these stories, and you see Beckham behave on the sideline, getting in his quarterback's face about not getting the ball enough. That's not a good relationship.
I think it translates directly to how successful the team is. If you think about those problem players at that position, a lot of their teams are struggling. They really are. And to Pat's point, you don't. I think Larry Fitzgerald's one of the best receivers ever in the league. And you talk about a guy just going to work every day and just getting it done, making plays constantly, making the hard catch all the time, and just keeping his mouth shut. Those are the guys that I squeeze for.
To be fair, though, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald has said 20 quarterbacks amongst his career. Maybe it's possible he doesn't have time to yell at them, right? Because they're out the door so quick.
Well said.
Yeah, but that makes it even more difficult, don't you think?
Agreed.
I mean, the fact he never had the one guy for a long period of time.
Yeah, but I think his career is speaking for itself, and he's still playing at a really high level. And they're getting him the ball all the time now. So I think guys like that are the guys you squeeze for.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Impressive first week for the Buffalo Bills for a team that, gave the ball up 4 times, lost a turnover battle by 4 on the road, and still won a game.
Impressive. I mean, it was a dominant performance by the Bills, and you really have to look at the numbers to break it down here, right? 4 turnovers, the comeback that they did, the resiliency that Josh Allen shows, and listen, I'm not ready to blame Josh Allen for the majority of those turnovers. Granted, he had 2 interceptions dropped. I was very impressed with the fact that he did not fold in any way, right? The fact that he looked exactly the same when he was completing every pass that first drive down the field as he did when he was not completing a single thing in the third quarter. And the fact of the matter is this, that defense looks terrifying. And not only does the defense look terrifying, the majority of that defense, a pretty significant amount, are still on rookie deals right now. Trey Edmonds, or Matt Milano, Trey White, Ed Oliver. Bill.
That helps.
Helps. Future's looking bright, baby. Time to jump on the train, get off your New England.
So is the defense more impressive than the fact that the offense gave the ball away 4 times?
Well,
Or it just comes down to you won the game?
Well, I mean, a win is a win in this league, right, Pat?
I read that, yeah.
Yeah. So what was the final score again? I want to hear that from you.
16-17.
Okay. Offense gave up 8 points. Defense gave up 8 points. If you give up 8 points in the NFL as a defense, you're dominating. You're really good. I don't care who you're playing and how struggling the offense you're playing against is. 4 turnovers and giving up 8 points on defense is ridiculous. To me, that's going to be a strength of them moving forward. The only problem I have is with the offense is I think they need to throw more on first down. They're too predictable on first down, too many people in the box, and they're getting themselves in trouble with long down and distance.
So what do you think of Josh Allen?
I really like him. I think he's poised. He's got a great arm, great feet. And
we can say this even though he gave the ball up 4 times.
Yeah, I do. I think it's all in rhythm. It's maybe a new offensive scheme. I think the short passing game, ball controlled passing is going to be really important with Beasley and all those other receivers. I'm on board. I'm not getting too excited for the Buffalo Bill fans because New England's still really great. But other than that, I think they're going to have a really good year. And I think they're going to hold the Giants to very few points this weekend.
2 things show how well Josh Allen performed despite what he did. 4 turnovers, all his fault, according to the stat sheet. He still threw for a career-high 254 yards. And despite everything he did, he still somehow outplayed Sam Darnold, who was supposed to be the quarterback that was head and shoulders of him last season. I mean, you look at the matchup they had against the Jets, the Bills, at the end of last season. People were flipping out. Houses were on fire. Look how great Sam Darnold is compared to Josh Allen. Well, what the heck happened on Sunday? What happened on Sunday?
Well, so the Giants now are the next team up. Bills are favored on the road. Interesting.
Yeah, I was a little shocked by that, but then again, I didn't get to watch much of the Giants and Cowboys, and when I see that Daniel Jones, as Vegas has him showing up in week 8 or 9, is already in the fourth quarter of the first game, yeah, I kind of understand why that would happen.
Well, so pick that game for me.
I think the Bills win. I think they win easy. Easy, relatively. Let's go 24-17 Buffalo.
I'll go 27-20 Giants.
Oh, my God, are you serious?
I like back-to-back road games. I never liked back-to-back road games.
You didn't like the initial road game either.
But they won it. Every week is different.
You're going to tell me if the Bills would have went out and laid an egg last Sunday, you would have picked them to beat the Giants this week?
Yes.
You're out of your mind.
That's what I would do.
Revisionist history, Bill Pucko.
Is there any sense to that?
I actually have the Bills.
and down.
I have the Bills winning as well. I do. I think they're going to win 27-10. I think the Giants are going to have trouble scoring again all year. If they can hold Barkley to under 100 yards, the Bills win, in my opinion, easily with that defense that they have.
I think they can. I think the Giants are going to have to find other ways to score.
I mean, you look at it this way. Le'Veon Bell was held to 70 yards on 17 carries. By the way, didn't somebody say he was going to carry 15 or less last week, and I was laughed at, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah, I mean, Saquon can run for 150. He ran for 120 against the Cowboys, and they got the doors blown off him. I'm pretty confident this week. That being said, I'm sorry if I just jinxed all of us.
He was right on Le'Veon Bell. Last point on this Singletary. What do you think of him?
I think he's dynamic. He could be the X factor moving forward throughout the season. I love those little scat backs. They were kind of talking about him relative to Dave Meggett. You remember Dave Meggett? Mm-hmm. I think he needs 15 to 20 touches because he could break it at any time he gets it.
And LaShawn McCoy played well for Kansas City. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by, I know, okay, so it had nothing to do with anything. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Like it or not, a $300,000 watch worn by Odell Beckham during an NFL game.
First of all, $350,000. Get it right, Bill. Second of all, I don't know if this is the most ballin' thing ever or the stupidest thing ever. Because on one hand, it's a $350,000 watch. What's league minimum right now? Like $700K? So there are guys on that roster in Cleveland after taxes and paying their agent and all of that stuff who will be taking home less this season than the watch he is wearing in an NFL game, which is like the biggest slap in the face I can think of, and it's horrible. But on the other hand, if you have enough money where you can shatter a watch on the field and then think, you know what, I'm going to go get another one, I guess you kind of have to do it. Like, he had no choice but to wear a $350,000 watch on the field.
And let's get back to like the first segment discussion we had on wide receivers. It's just another guy doing an odd thing.
Can you imagine that happening in New England? Never. It would never happen in New England. What is he, back at the University of Miami? You see what University of Miami does on the sidelines now when they get a turnover?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you talk about a gangsta feeling on the sidelines there. I think that was just way, way, way off color for him to do something like that. I don't appreciate it. I don't think fans appreciate it with the high ticket prices to know that, you know, you're flaunting your wages, your salary, your wealth. I'm against it. I don't think it was a wise move.
Well, here's the thing. If I didn't know what he made and then all of a sudden he's wearing a $350,000 watch, I get where you're coming from. But here's my favorite part. He says he's going to wear it again this week, despite the NFL telling him not to. It's Monday Night Football against the Jets, right? Mm-hmm. If you play for the Jets, you're trying to smash that watch,
100%.
right? Like, you want to destroy that watch. And here's what I want to see. If they do destroy the watch, even though he's got the money, does he automatically, like, drop to his knees and try and pick up the pieces, right? Like, without even thinking about it? Because it's still $350,000.
I'm trying to worry. How do you go out of your way to try to destroy a guy's watch on a football field?
Oh, if he's in the bottom of a pile, it's gone. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Like it or not, Rob Gronkowski possibly hinting that he might be tempted to come back to this Patriots team?
Yeah, didn't he raise the banner for the Super Bowl, number 6 in New England? I think I don't even know if they need him. You look about what they're doing with the offense. They geared this offense around not having him at the tight end position and work in the middle and the seams. If he comes back, I mean, it just makes him that much stronger. Antonio Brown, Gronkowski. I mean, how much better can you get the best offensive team in the league?
I kind of get him, like, you know, being there saying, geez, I want to be part of this when you see the way it's coming together. But I don't see it. He doesn't look like a football player anymore.
100% right. I think he's lost too much weight. I don't think there's a way for
40 pounds down.
Yeah, physically do it. I mean, there's a prediction. He'll be back in week 14. He's going to put on 40 pounds of muscle. You played in the NFL. I mean, you were probably muscular at one point.
I put on 40 pounds.
But I'm saying, in that short amount of time, for him to be, in game shape, going into the playoffs with the kind of game that he's known for playing, I think it's impossible. And who's to say that the second or third hit he takes, like what happened with Des Bryant in practice with the Saints last season, that everything just collapses on him? I don't think it's possible.
Like it or not, Astros and the Yankees finishing first place. How important is this going to be to these guys? And is it inevitable we're going to see them play each other?
I think it's inevitable you see the Stros. I don't think it's inevitable you see the Yankees, because we're about to see the great modern baseball experiment, right? They decided not to go get pitching, so they're going to try and home run hit their way to a World Series title, and there's no evidence that can be done. Either it completely changes the way we think about playoff baseball, or there's going to be a dark horse coming out of the American League.
And then the Astros got 36 runs they scored in back-to-back games this last week.
Is the ball jacked and juiced? I tend to think so. Baseball, we've talked about this before. I have my own opinions on baseball. It's becoming a complete showcase for the batter, without a doubt. Home runs, runs scored. To Pat's point exactly, you know, pitching is insignificant moving forward. It really is. I don't see the game changing and going back to having that ace in the hole who can 2-hit, 3-hit you, another guy in the hole, that strong bullpen like the Yankees used to have. I just don't see that happening anymore.
Yeah, I don't see anyone getting in either one of those teams' ways either. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, and Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one. Score!
Make a Dunkin' run for a $2 pick-me-up and avoid the afternoon slump.
Went to Dunkin' and got you this.
Come in for a $2 medium cold brew from 2 to 6 p.m. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Unfinished Business brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
Football season has started. The baseball pennant race is in full swing, so let's talk about international basketball. Earlier this week, Team USA lost to France in the FIBA tournament, whatever you want to call it. Bottom line is this. The Americans aren't going to medal in an international tournament after losing to Turkey and the French. And this is unbelievably embarrassing for American basketball. And it illustrates two things. One, the lack of desire for anybody that is an American basketball player and a superstar to play in international tournaments that they think don't matter. I understand that. The amount of money that is involved now is insane. There are players that do really well and ride that momentum into the season and have a great season. There are players where it hurts them as well. The thing that stuck out most to me is a conversation that we had in this room about a month ago. There was a player, a superstar player, in fact, arguably the best American international player of all time, who wanted to play on that roster. I'm talking about Carmelo Anthony. And USA Basketball said thank you, but no thank you. Greg Popovich wanted to do it all himself. Well, listen, after watching the way things went down, you really could have used Carmelo Anthony. And Carmelo Anthony could have used this as a springboard to find a job with an NBA team. But you didn't want to do it. It was the arrogance of American basketball that kept them from signing Carmelo Anthony. And it might have been the arrogance of American basketball that keeps them out of meddling. I hope moving forward, it's not about, I have a system because I'm genius and I can make it work international basketball-wise. If you got a guy that can play, get that guy and put him on your roster.
From a very young age, as an athlete and playing sports, we were always told there's no I in team. But guess what? There is an M and an E. And we're seeing that significantly in the pro arena nowadays. So many people are identifying themselves above the team. And in the early years, you really never saw that. Look at the Steelers from the 70s. You had players that stayed on the team for years and years and years, started and finished their careers. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls with those teams in the 70s. And there are so many players that I could make mention of that were not I players, that were team players. One particular one was my cousin, Rocky Bleier. Recently, he came out with a huge story on ESPN 30 for 30 regarding his return to Vietnam. You talk about a person and a player that was a true team member, not only on the football field, but on the battlefield. That is what we're missing in today's professional sports arena.
So the Patriots were the team of my youth. Back then they wore red instead of the blue, had a little cartoon on their helmet too. Didn't look real professional. They didn't win an awful lot back then, so nobody hated them. You don't hate teams that don't win. Hating is sort of a sign of respect in the NFL. Well, this week, the hate is back in a big way. Not only are the Patriots the most hated team in the NFL to start with, but having signed Antonio Brown, people hate them even more. Antonio Brown, of course, just about the most talented wide receiver in the NFL, in addition to bringing a whole lot of baggage. There's an interesting lesson to be learned here somehow, and I confess not being able to grasp it. Why a guy like this, who is as off the tracks as anybody, signs on with the most tight team in the National Football League? They do everything that he stands against. And will it work? And it probably will, because history tells us it will. So Antonio Brown isn't a guy that I'm a big fan of. If the Patriots win with him, that's fine. If they don't and this thing blows up, that's fine too. Because frankly, Antonio Brown isn't worth the time it takes to root for. Unfinished Business brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Nice job, Bob. Nice to have you back.
Good to be here. I'll see you again soon.
Pat, as always.
Hatred is a sign of respect, not the fact that everything they've ever accomplished has a giant asterisk next to it.
We'll get on that next week. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.